The following program does not offer personal medical advice. Please consult your doctor before using any treatment or product we cover. Welcome to Go to Health Media with your host, Jonathan Marks. We provide a welcoming environment where experts educate you on important health topics, answer your questions, and provide information from which you can benefit in consultation with your doctor. You can visit and subscribe to the show at gotohealthmedia.com. And now, here is Jonathan Marks. Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Marks. Welcome back to Go to Health Media. How are you today? You can subscribe to our shows so you don't miss an episode at gotohealthmedia.com. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube and 8 podcast networks. So on to today's show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Elizabeth Baker at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I work with a team of scientists, physicians, lawyers, and other professionals to move medical research, product testing, and advanced medical training away from using animals. I appreciate the subcommittee's attention to this critical subject. Ending federally funded animal experiments is long overdue. For generations, tax dollars have paid scientists to conduct acts that would shock the conscience of most Americans. Dogs, cats, monkeys, rabbits, pigs, and other animals are used in experiments that are painful, stressful, and often lethal for the animals that are subjected to them. Increasingly, it is recognized across research and testing sectors that animals are not good surrogates for humans. Over 85% of Americans that were recently polled agreed that animal-based research should be phased out. Both Congress and the administration must take action to ensure that government funding and requests for animal experiments are stopped, and that instead a portion of that funding is reinvested into more effective human-based approaches. Our first recommendation is to end federal support for wasteful and ineffective animal research. Animal research does not translate to humans because there are insurmountable species differences in our anatomy, physiology, lifespan, disease characteristics, and more. It's known that for new drugs, 9 out of 10 are going to fail in humans after they appeared successful in animals. And paying for those failures is partially why drugs can take so long, over a decade, to develop and cost so much to develop, over $1 billion. Worse, relying on animal data is partially why many human diseases have no treatments and even fewer have cures. Despite this knowledge, the federal government continues to promote animal research. The National Institutes of Health funds 7 national primate research centers that house, breed, and experiment on non-human primates with little regard to actual human translation. While there are countless examples of cruel research, consider this. Since 1991, the NIH has given $15 million to a single heart failure project where dogs are subjected to multiple major surgeries. They have devices that are stabbed into their hearts, and then they're forced to run on treadmills until they die or that device malfunctions. Despite 34 years of this work and hundreds of dead dogs, there's been no benefit to patients. Agencies across the federal government continue to fund animal experiments even when the objective is human-based approaches, like animal experiments for human nutrition. Regulatory agencies continue to require animal testing. Congress and the administration can end these wasteful experiments by cutting egregious research, ensuring that research is not funded if these objectives can be studied without using animals, and ending the federal animal testing requirements in regulation and policy. Our second recommendation is to reinvest some of these savings from animal research and testing toward evaluation, acceptance, and use of innovative and more effective human-based approaches. Methods like organs on chips, reconstructed human tissues, sophisticated computer models have existed for some time, but they're only supported at a fraction of the funding that goes to the animal experiments. Some federal efforts have already begun accelerating innovative human-based methods. The NIH has a national center, NICEDM, that works to evaluate and advance non-animal approaches across federal agencies through a congressionally mandated committee, ICFAM. With more investment and an expanded purview, NICEDM can accelerate this work and even address the reproducibility crisis in research. A center at the NIH NCATS is already working to bridge the gap between medical research and product development by prioritizing innovative human-based approaches. Recently, the NIH adopted important recommendations on non-animal approaches and launched the complementary program to speed development and use of these methods. Each of these are great examples of steps in the right direction, but the current resource investments just pale in comparison to the stronghold that animal experiments have held for decades. Greater support for these efforts will more quickly advance better science that leads to improved outcomes for people while avoiding animal use. There has been so much recent attention on getting Americans healthier. If we truly want to make America healthy again, we have to make science human again.
Many of you have asked, hey, Jonathan, you do so much information on health education for humans. How about doing it for our pets? So we have started a new series on pet health, and today's show is about that. The National Institutes of Health announced plans this week to reduce its reliance on animal testing in federally funded research and instead prioritized human-based alternatives. This comes on the heels of the FDA's recent announcement to end animal testing and instead use human-based technologies, such as AI and advanced in vitro methods, which are lab methods that use human cells to replicate how the body works. These decisions follow a growing recognition from doctors, the scientific community, and Congress that animal testing is no longer the most reliable or efficient method for predicting how drugs will work. Developing a new drug can cost up to $2.6 billion and take 10 to 15 years to complete, with more than 90% of drugs failing in clinical trials. So you'll see we do a lot of testing before drugs are brought to market. Catharine E. Krebs, PhD, is a medical research program manager with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine at PCRM.org, a nationwide organization of physicians and laypersons that promotes preventive medicine, conducts clinical research, and encourages higher standards for ethics and effectiveness in research and medical training. At the Physicians Committee, Dr. Krebs works to advance the use of non-animal medical research approaches by the National Institutes of Health, the world's largest funder of biomedical research. She also advocates for policy changes to promote a more diverse and inclusive research workforce, a subject we've tackled in previous episodes. Dr. Krebs has authored numerous congressional statements and public comments to the NIH and other federal agencies. She's also a fellow at the Oxford Center for Animal Ethics and a member of the American Public Health Association and the American Association for the Advancement of Science. So welcome to the show, Catharine Krebs. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. So as we start, let me ask you, what is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine? What do you folks do? Tell us about that first.
Yeah, of course. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine is a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C., and we are dedicated to saving and improving human and animal lives through plant-based diets and ethical and effective scientific research. So my team really focuses on the research and testing issue. We advocate for ending animal research and using human-based research and testing methods instead.
Got it. So explain for us again, what role has animal testing played in the development of medicines? Why was it started in the first place?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it actually goes back for centuries. Humans have been using animals to model human medicine for a very long time. But in the last decade or so, these non-animal methods that use human cells, tissue, and data have advanced to the point where we don't need animals to model human health and disease. And actually, these methods are more reliable because they're based on human biology and physiology. They can replicate human diseases more reliably, and they can predict human health outcomes better than animals can.
So I don't want to go into too much detail about this, but I'd like people to understand what is cruel about the animal testing that's done to develop medicines.
A lot of people don't realize just how many animals are used in research and testing. It's estimated that over 100 million dogs, cats, monkeys, mice, rats, rabbits, and other animals are used in painful and deadly experiments every single year just in the United States. And around the world, of course, the number is much bigger. And in the US, that constitutes as much as half of the NIH's annual budget. That's the
Wow.
National Institutes of Health. I'll also say that we actually don't even know. These are both just estimates because of historically poor transparency from the agency. I think what people do know is that they, by and large, want this animal use to end. We actually conducted a poll last year that found that 85% of US adults agree that animal experimentation should be phased out in favor of more modern research methods.
Got it. So can you tell us about some of those new alternatives to developing medicine that can replace animal testing?
Absolutely. So, this new initiative from the NIH is focused on these new non-animal human-based research methods. They use human cells, tissues, and data to replicate human biology and disease characteristics. And these technologies are already being used to replace animals in a variety of applications, including modeling diseases and testing new drugs. And one of them that I'll highlight is called a tissue chip. It's a 3D human tissue platform about the size of a thumb drive, and it's designed to mimic the structure and function of human organs and tissues. They can be configured with human cells from multiple cell types within a given organ to replicate reliably the structure and function of human organs.
Hmm.
They can also be configured with cells from multiple organ types, and they have microfluidic chambers that can reliably model important human tissue characteristics, things like vasculature, the flow of nutrients, waste, medicines, and toxic compounds, so that you can understand how different cell types and tissues and organs communicate during important disease processes and when you're testing the effects of drugs or other compounds.
And you mentioned before this new initiative from the NIH. Tell us about the initiative and what did it take to get there?
Yes, this is what we are so excited about. So on April 29th, the NIH announced a new initiative to prioritize human-based research technologies while reducing animal use.
Hmm.
And this has truly been a historic time for those of us working to replace the use of animals in research and testing. The NIH announcement comes on the heels of an April 10th announcement from the Food and Drug Administration about a plan to reduce animal testing for pharmaceuticals. And both of these plans address systemic issues that have kept animal research and testing in business, despite the many scientific and ethical issues that arise. Leading up to this announcement, the NIH has made steady progress toward the broader use of these exciting new non-animal research approaches.
Hmm.
In December 2023, an advisory group to the NIH released a report of comprehensive recommendations for the agency to catalyze these non-animal approaches. And it actually included many of the measures that are reflected in the new initiative. Things like interagency coordination, expanded funding, training, and infrastructure for non-animal methods, promoting the value of non-animal approaches through education and awareness initiatives, promoting peer reviewers' understanding of how to evaluate non-animal methods, and then tracking NIH investment in non-animal approaches. A few months later, in February 2024, the agency accepted the group's recommendations and at the same time launched a new program called Complementary, which is aimed at speeding up the development, standardization, validation, and use of these non-animal human-based methods. So this new initiative builds on this exciting progress that has already been occurring and is going to be really important for bolstering some of these ongoing initiatives and kind of expanding them so that they can really have a broader impact on health research and medicine.
So you work for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and again, people can visit you at PCRM.org. Are you also working internationally to try to get these changes?
We do focus at the Physicians Committee primarily on US health research and plant-based diets, but we do have some projects overseas. And I will say that one of them that I've been working on is an international collaboration. We have collaborators from all over the world in Europe, India, the UK, and we've been working on an issue called animal methods bias, which actually is partly addressed by this new initiative. So we do, for that work on animal methods bias, we do a lot of advocacy with the NIH, but we also work with researchers overseas, and we try to advocate for changes all over the world to address this issue.
What other question haven't I asked that I should have? What message would you like to leave with people before we end today?
Well, this new initiative has a lot of measures that are going to help bring about the change that we need to develop and integrate more predictive research methods that provide a better understanding of human health and disease. So we're just really excited about these measures. I think a lot of the details of the initiative still need to be fleshed out, but we are here. We're ready to work with the agency. We're also hoping that other governments around the world will follow suit and that we can begin to see some real change for animals and for patients and for innovative biomedical research.
Good. Thank you so much. We've been talking with Catharine Krebs, PhD. She's the Medical Research Program Manager with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which is a nationwide organization of physicians and lay people that promotes preventive medicine, conducts clinical research, and encourages higher standards for ethics and effectiveness in research and medical training. You can learn more at PCRM.org. That's the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Thank you for being with us today. This is Jonathan Marks with Go to Health Media. Remember, you can subscribe to our show at gotohealthmedia.com so you don't miss an episode. You can also watch us on YouTube and 8 podcast networks. We're now at 1.2 million downloads and growing quickly. Tell your colleagues and friends about us. And remember, you can buy I Believe in Evidence-Based Medicine swag at our new online store, gotohealthmedia.com/store. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for being with us, Catharine.
Thank you for having me.
Good. And remember, everybody, as we say at the end of every show, go to health. Take care. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in this week to Go to Health Media. Be sure to join Jonathan Marks and another health expert next time. You can also catch the program on your favorite podcast platform. Until our next show, be sure to visit us on the web at gotohealthmedia.com and elevate your life.